Welcome to another episode of Star Citizen and my first video in my series on the basics of dogfighting. Now, in this series, I want to be kind of showing actual, basically, mindsets and general knowledge that you can use in dogfighting, not just an overview of the controls and how to fly, but really some more theory behind it, such as how to do basic evasive maneuvers without actually covering specific maneuvers, but rather just the theory behind it, right? And this episode is going to be on strafing and vector control, or velocity control, whichever you prefer. They're basically the same. And so the very first thing you need to know about strafing and controlling your velocity is this. You'll see in the center of the screen, I will mark it. There's a kind of a reticle that shows you the exact direction you're going. So you can see I'm moving it back and forth here. And so if this goes off to the right side, then that means I'm moving to the right. Yes, you can see that as well. And if it's right in front of me, then that means I'm going forward. And if it's to the left, I'm obviously, okay. So that's how it works. And there's also, so you'll see there is a arrow at the bottom facing up. That means that it's the direction that I am traveling. If you fly backwards, then you can see the arrow is pointing down. And that indicates basically the opposite of the direction you're going. Sorry, I'm freezing up a little bit. All right. So then if I actually start moving to the left, you see it goes to the right because it's the opposite of the direction I'm facing. All right, so that's basically what you need to know. And yes, on my last video, I had a comment asking why I always strafe during combat. And it's actually a quite simple reason. Basically, if both you and your opponent are not strafing, then the best way to hit each other will be for both of you to face each other. And when that happens, you will both be flying straight towards each other, and because you won't be strafing, and you'll need to be aiming at them, and you'll be shooting. And if you do that, then you will both crash into each other, which you don't want to do. So that's basically why. And also, if you're attacking a stationary target, you shouldn't crash into them because it would be very easy to avoid them, and the easiest way to do that, such as on one of these, is I'm using these platforms as kind of targets, is just to strafe. And by strafing, you can keep them right there and hit them all you want. Whereas if you just flew straight forward, you would have to crash into them or change direction and then turn back around, stuff like that. So that's the first thing. And so the real use of this, and what's called the true velocity indicator, which is the vector indicator I was showing before, TVI for short, is if you want to outmaneuver your opponent, you can just aim that to wherever you want to travel. And if they don't know how to do this, or if they're too focused aiming at you, then there's a good chance that you'll be able to outmaneuver them in an asteroid belt such as this, or a little asteroid field. And after enough practice, you can just keep that in the corner of your view. You won't really have to pay attention to it, and you'll basically never crash again. Because, as you can see, I can just kind of aim it wherever there's a gap big enough for my ship and go through without hitting anything. And so it's the same as if you point your nose straight forward, then you can basically fit through any small gap that's big enough for your ship, like this, because you know you're traveling in the direction of your nose. So if you just point there, you can make it through anywhere, right? So it's the same thing if you're using your TVI to aim while you're strafing. If you see a place... Oh, I'm upside down. If you see a place that you want to go through, like the bottom of that, like I just went through, I might run into something. I'm flying backwards here. Oh, yep. Okay. So let's say I want to go through right there. So I would be throttling up and strafing, and I would just aim that TVI right in there. And then, if your enemy is following you, they would definitely crash or have to go around, and then you can boost around and continue on to engage them. So, my final point here is that while you're doing this, and it's really not hard after a while, you can just kind of manage exactly where you're going. But you can notice I can pull off some very tight turns without blacking out as well, even if I'm using full boost like I am now. And the reason for this, and this is very important, in any traditional air dogfighting game, you would basically, if a plane turns, right, if it wants to go to the left from the position I'm on right now, it rotates, or it rolls, and then it pitches upwards, right? And you never want to do this in Star Citizen because you can see, basically, come to a stop here. If you are facing your enemy directly, then they see this much size, okay? And if you are strafing and they can see your side, this is what they see as well. All right, this is the target they have to hit. If you are pitching up at them, then that means that they are above you, or if you're pitching down, then they are below you. In which case, instead of seeing this thin profile, they see this, which is, I would say, maybe even 5 times larger, right? Because it's the same width, but it is the width times the height rather than the width times 1/10 the width, whatever. So you can see that makes you a very large target. So you never want to do that. And even better, it comes with added bonus of if you're pitching, very easy to black out. All right. So that being shown, if you are strafing laterally always, then that will mean that you are both showing your narrowest profile to your enemy, but you will also never black out, because blacking out happens when the blood rushes either towards or away from the brain, which is in a up and down plane, right? So if you are moving laterally, you will never black out, and you will never red out, and all the while you will be maintaining your smallest profile to your enemy, and you have the widest. Your screen is most likely set up laterally, so it is the widest from side to side, and so you can see even more of where you're going. And so that's it, basically. It's the best way to fly is to strafe laterally and to watch your TVI indicator, or TVI, and using this, you can do some really nice tight maneuvers, and know exactly where you're going, never crash, and outmaneuver your enemy. And that's basically it for strafing. Just practice, practice, practice. So, at this point, I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content for the basics of dogfighting. I will see you next time.